Welcome to day 3 of Get Your House in Order. Working on a few last minute technical challenges. Seems like didn't want to get day 3 started, but we persevered and we are live. And we want to thank everyone for participating in day 1, day 2 of the 3rd annual Get Your House in Order Financial and Business Conference. And day 1 and 2, where we had the panel discussions. 2 panel discussions was awesome. Day 2, we had presenters on various topics, and we hope you were able to sit in on some of the sessions. Of course, you'll be able to review those sessions on our YouTube channel as well as Christian Men Inc. website. So we encourage you to review those sessions on those respective platforms. What we want to do now, in essence of time, is really get back to the first presenter that we have will be Michael J. Cunningham, and then we have a whole list coming forward. So without any further ado, let's get day 3 started.
Hello, my name is Michael Cunningham. Just to tell you a little bit about myself. I was born and raised in West Philadelphia. I attended Masterman, Central High School, and I stayed local for college at Drexel University, where I received a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. I served in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard and retired as a major. I played the bass guitar for my church choir that I grew up in and for Drexel University Gospel Choir. Married to my wife, Joyce, and we have 3 young adult children. Currently, I am a quality engineering manager at Lockheed Martin, and I also there lead the Black Excellence Council in Lockheed's space business area, and that's a business resource group. I serve as a deacon at New Covenant Church of Philadelphia, and I'm also the director of Institute for Financial Success, where we basically provide a service of reviewing, reporting, and educating individuals on financial solutions. And I do some real estate investing on the side. I'd like to thank Christian Men Incorporated for this opportunity to speak at the conference. We really appreciate the opportunity to share information that's going to help us all grow. So first of all, what is money? Money is a tool, money is a resource, money is a medium of exchange. How is money created? So basically, when more money needs to be in the supply chain or into circulation, the Federal Reserve Bank buys government fixed income securities, and that puts money into the marketplace. Well, what do they use to buy these securities? They just create the money. They just print it and it create it, and it appears. The Federal Reserve lowers interest rates, banks extend, and that causes banks to extend low-cost loans, which encourages businesses and individuals to borrow and spend. So it creates the circulation of money by making it available. Now, when there's too much money circulating around, the value of that money goes down and it causes inflation, which we're basically going through now. And that inflation, to offset that, the Federal Reserve does the opposite. They sell government security. The money that's used to buy those securities from financial institutions pulls the money out of circulation. So the supply of money in circulation goes down. And that's one way to use to reduce inflation. Well, let's take a look at how the bank makes money. So here you are, you make money from work or from your investment, whatever it may be, you make money. Money comes into your hand. And the average person will put that money in the bank. Now, these days, and banks don't really give a great return, interest. I'll just, for sake of argument of this presentation, say 1%. But what does the bank do with your money? The bank leverages that money, and they can get 10 times as much from the Federal Reserve to turn around and lend out to you. So say, for instance, if they have $1 million, they can get $10 million and lend it out and make interest off of money that they borrowed from the Federal Reserve. Now, they borrowed from the Federal Reserve at a very low rate. They'll lend it out to you at a much higher rate, and then they make the difference. And then they turn around and give you 1% on your account. So when you look at the banks make 4% to 9% and pays out 1% or 0.5%, and that amount goes up and down. You hear things about the Federal Reserve raise their interest rate and things of that nature. So that goes up and down. But because if the Federal Reserve raises their rates, then the banks and financial institutions are going to raise their rates so they can constantly have that spread and make money. So they're making money on other people's money. They don't create anything. The bank does not create or manufacture anything. They take your money, leverage it, borrow money, lend it out, and make money. So before we go on, because I want to show you how you can position yourself to do some of the things the bank does, and that'll help change the trajectory of the legacy of your family. Let's talk about asset versus liability. You gotta have an understanding of it. The primary definition of an asset is something that brings money in. The primary definition of liability is something that takes money out. So when you look at it from a personal perspective, some of your personal property, things you own, that's an asset. Real estate that you own is an asset. Cash that you have, assets. Stocks, bonds, mutual fund, assets. Things that are liability, credit card payments. Why? Because that's money that has to go out. Taxes go out, mortgages. Even if you own the property and you have a mortgage on it, the house itself is an asset, but the mortgage on that house is a liability. Any other notes, loans and things that you have, car loans, personal loans, these are things the money's going out. From a business perspective, an asset is the products that they provide, the machines that they use to make products, real estate that they may own. And liabilities, the business loan, they may have leveraged or borrowed money to be able to get the business started, to open up. Salaries is a liability because that's money that the business has to pay out. And of course, taxes and mortgages and things of that nature. So with that said, you understand there's also a secondary definition of assets and liability. Assets is simply things that I own, and liability are things that I owe. So where am I going with this? Let's look at how you can become the bank. Understand how the bank makes money. How can you position yourself as the bank? And also, I'm going to throw in a little thing in there about real estate. As I mentioned earlier, I do some real estate on the side. So I'm going to throw something out there to help you understand how you can leverage that as well. So you can, if you have money in the bank, or if you have money in some kind of financial product where it's liquid, you can put your money from the bank to work instead of allowing the bank to use your money to work. See, the bank's lending out your money or using your money to get more money to lend out. Why don't you use your money and lend out? Why don't you get in the first position and lend it out? Lend to a real estate entrepreneur. I'm going to use that because that's where I have most knowledge about. Sometimes you can also apply this to lend to someone that's starting a business. But the key thing is, if you look at that box where the money is going into, if anything in that box is something that can generate cash, that's where you can then use your money. Just like the bank was using it to lend on an asset. Say you're buying a car, they lend you money to buy a car. That car now becomes an asset to the bank to bring money in. So they give you money to buy something, but now you have to pay them money. So if, say for instance, you have real estate, if a real estate entrepreneur works with you and obtains properties or projects, it's different ways to make money through real estate. I'm not going to go into that now. But basically, if the money is used leverage to get real estate that then turns around and creates cash flow or one-time cash payouts, then you can turn around and make 6 to 8% estimated return on your loan. So you lend money out to someone that uses that to make an asset operational, and in turn, it gives you 6 to 8%. And I'm going to explain to you the big difference between 6 and 8% versus 1%. It's not just 5 to 7%. It's more than that. And I'll explain that in a minute. So you become the bank as a private investor and lend toward real estate projects, or you can become the real estate entrepreneur and create opportunities for the private investor. So Rule of 72 is a fundamental concept that simplifies how compounding interest works. Just saying, if you take the number 72 and you divide an interest rate into it, that will yield the number of years it will take for your money to double. At 2024 years becomes 4,000. At 6%, 2,000 becomes 8,000. And at 12%, 2,000 becomes 32,000. That's called an exponential difference. So you see here, year zero, someone has $100,000. By the end of that 72 years, 200,000. At 6%, 6.4 million, and at 8% is 25 million. The major difference is not just the speed of the increase. It is control of the asset that generates the money. Just going to wrap this up. In summary, banks leverage your money to borrow money, and they lend that money out and they make money on it. You can become the bank and learn how to leverage your money to make money. You can become a real estate entrepreneur and learn how to take other people's money and generate cash flow. Get the financial education, change your family legacy. So in our call to action, I just want to encourage you to move forward. About 20 years ago, I used to sell financial products, and I know of families that did not take action and they're regretting it today. They're not able to retire when they wanted to retire. They weren't able to send their kids to school when they wanted to go to college. There's a lot of things that were missed because they didn't take action when they learned. I want to encourage you to get that financial education. There's no one else's responsibility but yours. It is not the government's responsibility to take care of you when you retire. It is not your company's responsibility. That's the lazy way out when you just expect everybody else to take care of you. You got to get up. You got to take action, especially the men. You got to lead. You got to take action. So I want to encourage you to start learning. Reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll try to help get you started on your road to financial education. Once again, I would like to thank Christian Men Incorporated for this opportunity to share information. I really hope someone can take this information and use it to move forward, to move their family forward. Look forward to hearing from you guys in the future.
And welcome. Glad that you can make it here today. My name is Larry Lewis, and I am a healthcare professional, and I do different aspects of health insurance, including business health insurance, but most importantly, individual health insurance. And as it applies to us getting our house in order, today we're going to talk about something very important, Medicare, and how important Medicare is for as you go into that later part of life. You have to lay that foundation today to make sure things are in order when you arrive at that point. So first of all, I just want to thank Christian Men Inc. for inviting me to speak at the Get Your House in Order conference. A great opportunity, a great work that they're doing. So I hope you're getting some good information, but more importantly, we're hoping that you act on the information. So let's take a look at some of the basics of Medicare. As we all know, Medicare has all of these different alphabets, A, Part B. You see the TV commercials about C plan. You know you need a D plan, drug coverage. You can get a Medicare supplement, a plan F, G, N. We're going to try and make some sense of that today, just to kind of help you understand what this means, and again, allow you to start getting your house in order for those years when you will be looking at receiving Medicare and making use of it. So as you see right here, we have Medicare Part A, and that's your hospital coverage. Medicare Part A is often referred to as the hospital insurance, and here's what it covers: hospital services, inpatient care at a skilled nursing facility, inpatient rehabilitation care, home health care, or hospice. So Medicare Part A covers the big ticket items when you're in a hospital or a skilled facility. So when we think of health insurance, we primarily use our health insurance for three things. That's where most of the usage comes from. Either you go to the hospital, either you go to the doctors, or either you go to the pharmacy. So that's going to cover your hospital, your doctor's visits, and your prescriptions. And this is the part that Medicare gives you at no cost after you have worked 40 quarters in the United States paying into the FICA system. So this is the one when you turn 65, they just automatically give it to you. And fortunately, this is the one that covers the biggest chunk of your health insurance expenses. Let's look at Part B, doctor coverage. Remember, hospital, doctors, or to the pharmacy. Now we're looking at the doctor office, and this is your Part B. This Part B comes to you at a cost when you turn 65. The minimum premium for Part B as of 2022 is $170.48. That's the minimum. It is based on a scale. So if your income is higher, you could be paying somewhere around $200 to $211. But this is what gives you coverage for the doctors. It also covers services and supplies that do not require hospitalization. And it covers you for doctor visits and outpatient treatments, preventative care services, screenings, checkups, medical equipment, diabetic supplies, walkers, wheelchairs, ambulance services, and mental health services. So as you can see, this is pretty comprehensive for going to the doctor's visits. Your checkups, your screenings, your x-rays, and things of that nature would fall here, as long as they are not done in a hospital setting. So we talked about Part A and Part B, but here's something you really have to know. When you get your Part B, you have 63 days to get prescription coverage, and that is a Part D plan, D for drugs, prescription drugs, and you have to get that, because if not, and Medicare doesn't tell you this, if not, you will receive a penalty of 1% for the average cost of a prescription plan, and that accrues each month. So you are accruing a penalty of 1% each month after that 63 days, and that penalty does not go away. I've seen some situations where people were not prepared for that. They just got their Medicare Part A, Part B, and they thought life was good, but and they weren't taking any prescriptions at the time, so they said, I don't need it. 5 years later, as we all know, things happen as we get older. Something happened, high blood pressure, they needed to take a prescription for it. They went to purchase their prescription Part D plan, and they had a penalty that could not go away. So make sure you're always keeping that in mind, because Medicare is just going to tell you how to get your Part A and Part B. So there are these plans, and this is everything that you see on TV. If you're 65 years or older, please do not call any of those numbers. Those things are designed to just funnel you into whatever plan without looking at options, but they are your Medicare Part C or your Medicare Advantage plans. So they're offered by private companies, and that's why you see so much advertising. They include benefits covered under Original Medicare, but they also cover your prescriptions, and you may be required to use a specific network of doctors and hospitals, and you have to pay co-payments and co-insurance, but there's a yearly limit to your out-of-pocket costs. So the good thing about these plans are they do cover your prescriptions. They usually are at 0 monthly premium, but it is a pay-as-you-go type of plan. So as I said, there's co-pays. If you go to a doctor, you may have a $5 copay. If you go to a specialist, you'll have a $10 to $20 copay. If you have to have an x-ray done, it's usually about a $300 copay. If you have to go to the hospital, it's about a $300 a day copay, up to about 5 days, because remember, they do have limits on what you pay. But the good thing about these plans is they keep you out of trouble with your prescriptions, and also they are 0 monthly premium. That is opposed to the Medicare supplement plans. So we're going to compare these two, because these are the two best ways to cover that 20% gap that Medicare doesn't cover. You can get a Medicare supplement plan. It's going to run you between, when you first age in at 65, it's going to run you between $100 to $200. But after you pay your premium, everything's covered. You don't have any co-pays. So if you're comfortable paying that $200, that's the best way, because you do not have to stick to a network. They're standardized plans, and you can go anywhere coast to coast in the United States, and any doctor that accepts Medicare will accept these plans. And remember, like we said, these plans may cost you $150 to $200, whereas the Part C plan does not have any monthly premium. It's a pay-as-you-go. With a Medicare supplement plan, in addition to that $150 to $200, you are now still going to have to get a prescription plan, which will cost you about $50. So you're looking at about, realistically, $200 to $250. And understand that the Medicare supplement plans do not include vision or dental. The Medicare Advantage plans do provide some vision and dental coverage. So when you're looking at it, you really have to determine, do I want the convenience and comfort of just knowing that I pay once and whatever happens, everything is covered coast to coast, or am I okay using the network of doctors, having copays, but not having that monthly premium each month? So those are the two best ways to cover that 20% gap. And as we mentioned earlier, if you go with the Medicare supplement, you are going to have to get a prescription drug plan offered by individual companies. You can have a standalone prescription plan if you only have Medicare, Original Medicare, and that complements that. But if you decide not to purchase a Medicare Part D plan, as we mentioned, you will have to pay a late enrollment penalty when you do enroll in a plan if it's after that 63-day window. So as we talked about it, Medicare prescriptions, you got your Medicare Part D. There are some extra help programs that help with that. How do you qualify? How do you apply? And how do you get these extra lower help? Well, the state of New Jersey has a program called PAD, P-A-A-D, pharmacal assistance for the aged or disabled. And if you meet certain income requirements, if you're below certain income requirements, they will at no cost give you this card, which will help you with your prescriptions. This will fulfill your Part D requirement. So if you qualify for PAD through the state of New Jersey, you do not have to go out and buy a separate Part D plan. And this comes completely at no cost. So always here to help anybody look at the requirements and see if they may qualify so that they can get that assistance that is absolutely free from the state. And that is also helped through the federal government through their low income subsidy, which also helps with the Part D program. And again, the criteria are usually pretty much the same, but here's the way we kind of help you with the federal government helping you and the state government helping you. If you qualify for the federal low-income subsidy, because theirs has a more strict requirement, then more than likely you will qualify for the state. And then there's also a chance that the state will give additional benefits, which will help you with that Part B premium. Remember, we talked about Part B, the doctor's visits, that 170. There are ways to combine state and federal assistance to not only help with the prescriptions, but help with the Part B premium. So how is income counted? They take a look at your gross Social Security income. They also look at unearned income that must be reported, and earned income, which is usually just the Social Security at that point, or if there's any pensions or anything like that. They will also look at your assets. If you own any real estate that's not your primary residence, you may have a house that you inherited or something like that. You're on the deed of your children's house. They will look at that. They'll look at stocks, bonds, CDs, IRAs. So again, part of this, as you look at going into the Medicare stage of your life, you want to get your house in order and start planning now. But they will not count your primary residence, life insurance, or $1,500 of resources unless the individual states on the application that these resources are to pay for funeral or burial expenses. They do allow you to start to plan properly for your final arrangements. So you can start the application process for Medicare. There's a 6 months, well actually they give you 7 months, 3 months before turning 65, the month turning 65, and 3 months after you turn 65. You should have everything taken care of. I always say take advantage of that 3 months prior, get the application started, just in case if there's any questions, concerns that Medicare may have. You can start your Medicare supplement application or your Medicare Advantage application also the 3 months before, and it will just sit in applied for status, and it'll go active on the first day of the month that you turn 65, as well as the assistance. So again, the challenge is to, as we do these programs for you, you're hearing a lot of information about a lot of different topics. Be proactive and get your house in order. Start early looking at this. And here we have an opportunity for you to start 3 months prior to that time of you turning 65 to start to get your house in order there. So we just want to thank you all for taking the time. I hope we gave you some good information. Again, I want to thank Christian Men Inc. for inviting me to speak at the Get Your House in Order conference. But we just want to challenge you as men, Christian men, to definitely take the time to get your house in order. Do things in decency and order. We are leaders in the community. We're leaders in the family. We're leaders in business and industry. And the example that we set models for generations to follow. So we have to, man, I challenge you all, we have to take the time to start right where you are to get your house in order. No matter what topic, no matter what area, just do something. So I thank you so much. I hope you have a great day and enjoy the rest of the conference. Take care.
Tony Kalanges, Amude Tax, NACX Business Credit. I want to thank the Christian Man Inc. for inviting me to speak about business credit. And it is important for the business to establish credit, because if the business does not establish credit on its own, and the owner or the CEO of the business will be involved as far as liability is concerned, or signing for the business in order for the business to obtain credit from financial institutions.
So you said that if businesses, by establishing credit, how do I establish credit? What are some of the key points that you can share in establishing business credit?
In other words, the business has to, the bank has to kind of do the same process they do for an individual when they apply for credit, when the business applies, to do it just the same thing for the business without the owner. So there is things that the business has to do, because what do they do when a person apply for credit? They want to see first if you have income, if you have established credit with other people, and they just want to see if maybe your social security, your phone number, your address, information that you provide to them are correct. And by verifying this information with other financial institutions, they will come up to a decision. And then they have to do the same thing for the business, and the business have to have a starting point. In other words, before you ask for credit for the business, what they're looking for. They want to know the name of your business. They want to verify your business address. They want to know if your business, the entity, or what kind of business entity is your business. In other words, are you an LLC? Are you a S Corp? Are you an Inc? What type of business are you? They want to find out. They want to know if you have a business number. They want to know if you are listed in 411. They want to see if you have a website. They want to find out if your business requires licensing, and if it does, are you licensed? Are you licensed? And they just want to see if you are bankable. In other words, do you have a banking account, a checking account, and so on. I can go down the list, but I think that is the very basic of to show that your business is ready for credit. You can pull a business credit like you pull a personal credit report. First of all, we have some very important guidelines how you can do that to establish credit for your business, which I just spoke about. You should basically choose a business name, and you should get a business entity selections, meaning if you're an LLC, Inc., or S Corporation, and you will have an identification from IRS or an EIN. And then you need to have the very basic for the business. Have a phone number. Don't use your cell phone number for your business. You can use your cell phone number. Maybe get a virtual number that's ringing your cell phone number, but it's a part of 411 listing. And they just want to see if you are a legitimate business. They will ask you, do you have a website? Then they'll ask you, do you have a business email? Meaning, if you have an email that have your business name attached to it. They will ask you about licensing. And when you choose a business entity, you have your LLC done, if that's that you want, and you have all that, your document, you just walk to a bank, open a bank account. And then at this point, and you have a bank account, and there's few other things you have to do, but basically don't jump and apply for American Express or apply for a high-end or major credit card. You start on your very basic, which we teach people how to do that. We guarantee it from 3 to 9 months where you can obtain anywhere up to $50,000 credit line, but you probably have to start it with $100 credit line. We'll tell you how many accounts you need to have before you apply for certain cards, and what's your credit balance. Your credit line has to be before, or how many accounts you should have before you apply for certain card, and what they look for. So what we do, And what we teach, we just want to make sure you know exactly what certain bank or financial institution looking for, what is the guideline for to get an approval. So when you learn those, there's no way you can miss it because we already know what they're looking for. Of course, you can apply for business and you give, you run your business in your basement, and maybe you're living in a poor city and you give the business address, and when they go to Google, they Google your address, your business address, and they don't see any name. It's like a terrible place, and they just don't believe that business it's a legitimate business. So you need to know, that's what we do. We teach you exactly what is the steps in order to get the credit for your business. And the business credit is very important because if you use your personal credit, after 30 days, they can report you to the credit bureau. But if it's a business credit, I think it's 90 days. So they give you more time to give your business more time, and you're not actually responsible for if anything happened with your business. They cannot come after you personally because the business credit is not connected with your Social Security. It's connected to your EIN. And every business has only one EIN, and it can't be the same. Of course, it will help you. It's like probably one of the 10 things that you have to do. Maybe right now we have just to make your business creditable. We have at least a minimum of 10 things you got to do to make sure that they are in order. And what you just mentioned is just few of them. Your EIN, your business name, that's correct. Your business phone, 411, have a website, has a business email, business license if needed, bank account, and you have to make sure they are in order. You have to make sure if you are already an existing business, you have to make sure that your LLC has not been revoked. It has to be active, because I went to Bank of America one day to open a business account. They go online to verify that business is active. So if they can find the business name according to the search or membership, they will not let you open an account with that name. I know that is a problem, and it is a problem. You have to make sure it's verifiable to the point where you don't mix the personal and the business life together. If the business doesn't make money, let's say you just start a business, and don't take your personal money, your personal credit card. If you have $5,000 for the business, just write a check from your personal checking account and give the check to the business. And where it said memo, just write loans, investment, and deposit it on the business account. Then every expense for that business, you just do it on this business checking account or the business debit card. So that will make it easy for the bookkeeping process. And even you don't have the receipt, if it shows the transaction can be seen, can be verified on the business account, that is a great way of showing, in a business, you need the 3 C's for a business to be successful. You need, or to have credit, not successful. You need the 3 C's. You need cash flow, and you need to show credit, or you need to show collateral. So those 3 things that will enable the business to have credit. But to show cash flow, the money has to go through the business account. So in other words, helping the businesses, don't make your personal transaction, your business transaction to your personal transaction. So you just have to make sure you have a good documentation. Yes, and a lot of people even think you have to make money to file taxes. No, you don't. But you have to file taxes. Because when you don't file taxes, the government doesn't know you didn't make money. You have to file taxes. When they ask you what your gross, you just say zero. And you have expense, you put it down. Because the government doesn't know you didn't make money. So that means 2-3 years from now, they can give you a call. Say, I haven't seen the business tax for year 2021, year 2020. They don't know, because they don't know you don't make money. You just have to file your taxes. If you file your taxes, you put zero income for the year, and they just know that you didn't make money. But if you don't file, they don't know about it. They can call you 10 years later and ask you for that. That doesn't mean you will be found guilty of anything, but you don't want that. You don't want that time-consuming efforts that you have to do to show that there was nothing wrong with it. Just let's do it now. You need to file your taxes. What the bank looking for? They're looking for income. They're looking for, because if you cannot show that you make money, what will make them believe that you can pay them the money for the money you are looking for? So your taxes, it's like your financial statement to say how strong or how weak you are. So if they give you a loan for $100,000 and they said you got to pay maybe $1,500 a month, if you don't show that you make some money, you have enough income coming for that $1,500 a month, they're not going to give you that money. Because they know the tax is that's document number one they can trust, because it's with the federal government. And if you lie to the government, there are consequences. So they trust because they not only you give them a copy of your taxes, but they will make you sign authorization for them to pull out a transcript from the government and to make sure what is on your tax it's true. They're not the same, it's just different name. Some of them are very small type of credit, and some other ones are bigger. As long they reported, they are reported to the Business Credit Bureau, and then at that point, that's what you're looking for. It's not a matter of name. Some of them is easy. I know store that will give you, if you order for $100, they will give you a credit regardless, and they say you have to pay in 30 days. So what you're looking for is that company will report your business, give you credits, and they will also report that you pay on time. What I really want to say is it's very important to establish business credit for your business. And my introduction today was really to do the diagnostic part of it and not to prescribe. In other words, from what you hear today cannot really give you all the steps. It's just to let it is the acknowledging part, knowing that what needs to be done. But if you need help, you can actually check our website, acxbusinesscredit.com, or you can give me a call. My number is 609-801-7345. We can actually give you a free consultation, and you need the coach, the business credit coach, to walk you step by step and to really build an excellent credit profile for your business, where the business will not need you when you need to borrow money for your business.
name is Sean Smith with Insure America, and I've got to tell you guys, I'm super excited about joining you again this year, for the Get Your House in Order Summit. And, I just got to tell you again, I'm just so pleased that, Rudy Ellis asked me to join you guys again. I've been an admirer of you guys' work out in the, particularly in the Philadelphia area for years. There's quite a number of folks that I actually know that have been affiliated, with the organization. I'm doing a lot of great things out there, and obviously I can feel the effects by working directly with Rudy Ellis. So with that being said, I just want to kind of get into how I believe that Insure America, definitely fits into the theme of, putting your house in order. So as I did say, my name is Sean Smith. I'm a national life sales manager for the company. We are a full service insurance agency. We definitely do life and health, but I focus primarily on the life side. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit as I go through the presentation. We are based here in Philadelphia, and I would say one of the cornerstone products that we actually have is our pre-need product. And I'll explain a little bit more about that as I go along. All right, so as I did say that I have been an admirer of you guys for many, many years. And that's just because of the principles that you guys stand on. Obviously, the church itself has been just a pillar, within the community. I could definitely say that, and you guys, without a doubt, have been a vanguard to that end. I really love the tenets that you guys stand for. The fact that, you guys are building strong families and communities. I mean, this is straight from your website. Obviously, you guys know, but for those that don't, the goal here for you guys has been, and you have been doing, building strong families and communities by empowering boys and men through instruction, intergenerational mentoring, and positive development. So as I started to mention, some of those tenets, the faith, family, finance, career, civic duty, health, personal development, and mentoring. And just to reiterate the fact, I've been feeling those effects from you guys. And, I just got to, honestly just tip my hat to you and say, continue the great work. So what I want to talk about a little bit is about, how life insurance ties into what it is that you're doing. And also the fact that it also ties in a way to help leave a legacy and continue the work that you guys have already started. So, for those that don't really know, obviously, probably you are familiar at least with some of the insurance products that are out there. You probably heard of whole life products. Whole life insurance is generally, just like the name says, it's a product that, can sustain your family for the rest of your life, if you will. And I guess more importantly, when we're called home, is that we have something in place to be able to sustain the family for the rest of their life. And then obviously, by us doing that for them, it helps definitely to preserve the legacy that we put forth, over the years. So let's just talk a little bit about the products, just so we're on the same page, or two particular products regarding whole life. So final expense, most of you guys are probably familiar with. Final expenses don't necessarily just mean a funeral. It could mean all those, bills that could possibly be left behind that we potentially could be burdening our families with, such as medical bills, could be a mortgage, obviously credit card debt, car notes, and then also the fact that a final expense, it can also, leave some form of an endowment if you choose. And for whatever that endowment is for, again, helping preserve the family, helping kids go to school, whatever it is, all those things can be accomplished through a final expense policy. That's one that we actually do market, one that we really specialize in. And I said, really is sort of like the marquee product for our company, and that is the pre-need. Pre-need, a lot of folks are really not familiar with the pre-need. But just like the name suggests, it's that you're, in essence, you're pre-planning, for the eventuality that we at some point will be called home. So what the idea is that we're taking the stress away from our family by setting these things up. And believe it or not, it can actually shorten the bereavement process by pre-planning, just because a lot of things are in place. And obviously, you have to think about the fact that when we're gone, our families have to, move on in a world that we're no longer in. And when you help put some things in place, the healing process can actually begin more immediately, as opposed to being mired with the stress of trying to figure out exactly, what to do, how to best, make sure that, our loved ones are taken care of, or in this case, us, we're being taken care of, in a dignified manner, the way our families would expect. So we can have some say in that by pre-planning these things. So the pre-need, just not to get into every feature about it, but the fact that, there's early payoff options. So you're not burdened with having to pay this for your entire life. You can actually pay them off, and in a lot of cases, 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and it's done. And now it actually has an inflation hedge in it, which means it's basically going to grow with a growth account that's going to, in some cases, actually even double the policy, depending upon, when that policy is needed. So that face value, just as an example, say it was 10,000. You could say the next, let's say 20 years or so, and I'm just putting a number on, I don't know exactly, but let's just say in that 20 years time, that $10,000 policy is now 20,000. Why that's important is because, just as the words there suggest, the fact that, things are going to cost a lot more in the future. And there's other features that we can talk about at, some later date, to kind of let you know why we believe it's, in a lot of cases could be better suited for families for final expenses. They're easier to qualify for because they don't ask a lot of medical and health questions. And also, there's moments when the policy is being written that we make sure that your wishes are actually heard, so therefore they're carried out. Then obviously we can continue our life until that time, with a certain level of comfort. So giving us a peace of mind, giving your family for that, sake of peace of mind as well. Now, there's also other policies where you can create a, policy that could be actually used as something we'll call a charitable contribution. Same exact concept, but instead of setting the policy up where we're having the proceeds go directly to our families, in this particular case, we can have the proceeds go to our church family. So again, just a small policy, small endowment, again, to help carry on the legacies that we put forth in life, because obviously a lot of these things that we do require, some type of finance to keep those things moving, and a small policy attached to our church family could help to that end. So that's a way, again, to make sure that the work that we've started here in this life is carried on by our successors. And it's a way to constantly keep us in their memory that we've started that work. So that's just just something. So you're thinking, just 3 policies that I kind of went through there, which was the final expense, the pre-need, and then maybe some type of charitable giving policy that can actually be set up. So just as ideas, giving you peace of mind. Obviously, it's going to help ease some type of financial burden in the case of the pre-need and the final expense, and even the charitable giving. It helps sustain the family. In that last case, the church family, and then obviously it ensures that your legacy is going to be carried on. And honestly, that's what we're doing a lot of this work for. To leave a legacy, pass that legacy on. And hopefully the next, group picks up the torch and continues the great fight that all you guys are definitely have put forth. So with that being said, I definitely appreciate the time to be able to share with you guys. If anything I said regarding insurance is of interest to you, you can always contact Rudy and he can explain more in detail. Definitely get you in contact with us if we need to. It was definitely a pleasure to be able to share with you this afternoon. You guys have, I'm not sure we're actually in the afternoon right now, but you guys have a fantastic day. God bless and I'll talk to you soon.
3, 2, 1. Well, before I go to the next session, what I just want to reflect on the first couple of speakers, in particular, Mike Cunningham, who started us off. I actually met Mike during a conference that the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, they had a group of professionals that they were outreaching, in particular to the faith-based community. And part of that training that they were offering was based on financial literacy. So that actually was in 2012. That's when I met Mike Cunningham at that conference. And I really am pleased that he's agreed to kind of reconnect with what we have been doing during that time period. Again, it is the reason why I'm bringing that up is that was in 2012. And we're looking at 10 years. This is 2022. And yeah. I'm not sure of all the particulars of what was actually going on or why it did or didn't continue, but it's quite evident that they haven't been running that program necessarily in that same format of train the trainer. That was the heading of it, the train the trainer. So that's one of the initiatives of Christian Men Inc. in helping to provide train the trainer forums regarding finances as well as other areas, whereas we are managing and being intentional about providing that on an ongoing basis. And this is the first formal effort that we are really privileged to be able to engage with some of the professionals. So I want to thank Mike, Moni Kalanges, and Larry Lewis for sharing with us. Since you on, before we go to the next series, didn't know if you wanted to chime in on anything that was reflected on.
Well, I think that one of the things that is still continue to make it kind of clear to me as to what and how important it is to vet a lot of the contacts and relationships that we have, that they go back. It's not some guys that we just met yesterday,
Right.
and they are relevant to the day and the future that we're trying to establish for tomorrow, especially being able to be self-sustaining, so that we'll be able to do what we need to do without interruption from necessary from other entities that may not see the vision that we see. So I'm excited about that, because when I'm looking at this thing, I want to be able to see it from the national level down to our district level, and that be able to see all levels of it and who the players need to be. And so all of that stuff we will be flushing out within the next couple of weeks after we finish this conference today.
Great, great. Well, before I get started on the next session of presenters, I wanted to, after the first 2 days, I went out and got something that I thought would be helpful. I don't know if you can see this, but this is going to be my binder. And you see my backdrop
it's the money binder, huh?
It's the money binder. And what we are going to be offering, this is part of the Get Your House in Order binder. And for those that register and become part of the class, because we're going to talk more about this at the end, about the Get Your House in Order and all the other components. But we're going to offer the Get Your House in Order binder, that if this is a motivator, so when you look at this, you know, you're thinking about money, you're thinking about finance, you're thinking about wealth, creating generational wealth, so you can hand the binder over. So I don't want to go too much more into that, but what I do have in my binder, I just want to go back to what we were talking about yesterday as far as the checklist. And on that checklist, there was some of the areas that we spoke on, and I just want to highlight a few of the other areas that's highlighted as part of the Get Your House in Order checklist. So we're talking about, we mentioned all the other ones, arranging for flowers. Now, again, this is you're you're putting on paper what it is you want to have. Do you want, you know, folks to send in $25, $50, $75 worth of flowers that's around your casket or at your cost of your celebration of life? Is that where you want the money to go, that is going to die? Well, the flowers will die. Or at least maybe consider an alternative, but at least decide for it. Because if you don't say, and my family knows, I don't want one tulip around anywhere near me. Don't, if anything is going toward our family foundation, no flowers for Rudy. Okay. Choose the clothing and jewelry, whatever, you know, if you are going to be placed in the casket, if that's your choice, then choose lay it out. You know, here it is. Take a picture of it. You want to lay it out. So the challenge is, do you have this in order? Yes, no, maybe. How about the music? Now, you know, you may be an old head, but do you like hip hop? And is that the kind of music you want, or do you want, you know, the gospel music? You know, do you want Get Your House in Order by Dottie People singing, you know, because you're sending a message to the rest of the family? All the papers that you have, where are all the important papers, the documents that you have? Do you have them in a place and you've communicated that? Yes, no, maybe, or you don't have any papers? Fine, that's part of the Get Your House in Order to get it started. And this is I'm just going to end right here, and there are some additional ones that I'll pick up a little later. Your obituary. Now, what do you want them to say? You can write it out now. Write out your own obituary. What is it that you want to say? You can say, you know, You can say what you want to say as opposed to what they're going to say about you in the obituary. Now, I'm just going to leave that there. Let's put a pin in it right there. But the question is, do you have that on paper? And think about it. During that time, family members are coming together, trying to pull all that together, and they don't know your history truly. And you can put it all on paper before them, especially during that grief time. Who's going to write it? Who has the you know the at in during that time, that stressful time. So I'll pick up on some of the other things so you can consider whether or not you do have that on your checklist. But what I want to do now is go on to our next presenters. They are in their own right awesome professionals and are doing a bang up job in their professional career, and we're really excited about them coming on board to help us with our pilot program and in shaping some of the things that we're doing and offering some additional insight. So right now we're going to back out our video and our audio. Yeah, Deacon Glover, you want to back out your video?
I'm not able to get to the screen.
Okay. Well, how about the mute?
Yeah, I don't have the buttons in front of me. Put it back the way it was, and then I can do that.
Okay.
I just shut it down and then come back in, okay?
All right, bro. 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. My name is Vaughn Coleman, and I am a certified financial planner who works with several different organizations to bring products and services to my community. And I also teach financial literacy in the Philadelphia and Greater Pennsylvania area. And I've been doing so since 1997. And I am going to be presenting information here today in terms of the proper way to use tax shelters and how tax shelters can be an advantage to your overall strategy for how you build wealth and how we build wealth in our communities. So we hear a lot about how to grow your money, but this will be some information on how to keep the interest that you're earning on some of those investments. Before I get started, I would just like to thank Christian Men Incorporated for inviting me to the Get Your House in Order Financial and Business Conference, here to empower our community and give us the resources that we need to continue to grow and prosper and to build legacy. So with no further ado, I'm going to get started with the presentation. And again, we're going to be talking about tax shelters, and we're going to be talking about it from the standpoint of empowerment. So we're going to be looking at preparing you for your financial future, short-term and long-term strategies for growth and financial empowerment, meaning that we really want to start to think not in terms of just preparing for tomorrow or day to day, but actually starting to play the long game. How do we make sure that we're happy about the decisions we made 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, through our retirement, through dealing with inflation, through dealing with taxation. So we want to make sure that we're not just thinking about how we make it from check to check, but how we're paying ourselves first and using some of our resources to make sure that we have something for our future and we can live with more peace of mind, more comfort, and share that with our families, friends, and colleagues. So the first slide we're going to go into just discusses how to even have something to protect from taxation in the first place. So a lot of people say, well, before I can save money on taxes, I have to have some savings to save it on. So you want to make sure that you have a plan that puts you in a position where you can invest and take advantage of some of these tax favored investments that are out there. So the first start is making sure that you have a budget, making sure that you have a plan in place where you can see on paper that you are actually making more money than you spend. So what you usually do is you take a budget sheet and you start with, what are you making in your check after you pay your taxes and expenses? That's your net income. And then you look at all of your expenses and say, what is going out every month? And then you want to make sure that at the end of the month, you can see on paper that you are actually not spending more than you make. Because if you're making $50,000 a year, but you're spending $55,000 a year, at the end of the day, you can't even play the game because there's no savings there. And people say, well, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because you can go into credit card debt, which means that not only would you not be saving, but now you're actually paying interest as opposed to having interest paid to you. So the first step is to just have a budget in place and make sure that you're saving. Once you have a working budget that shows that you can put some money away, you want to develop a strategy that has you putting money away on autopilot, meaning out of sight, out of mind, a way that you're automatically investing. So you're not counting on yourself to go to the bank and actually save money someplace. You're using maybe direct deposit from your job or an automatic banking arrangement from your bank so that you're automatically adding some money every pay period to something that can actually grow for you. Now, the first step is just building up a cash reserve. And the cash reserve is usually just a savings account or a checking account. Those accounts don't pay much interest, but that's your money that you have for your emergencies or your opportunities that might arise on a day-to-day basis. Once you have that in place, and that's usually about 3 months of your expenses is what we recommend, to have at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses, just someplace where you can put your hands on it if you need it. That gives you money not only for emergencies, but it also gives you a buffer so that you don't have to run to your investments and your retirement plans and your education plans, things that you want to save for the future every time there's an emergency. So that's the first step, is you just build a cash reserve. Once you have that cash reserve in place, however, you want to make sure that you're putting some money someplace where it can actually work for you. And when we say work for you, we're looking at compounding interest. You're going to want to have your money making some rate of interest that's above what the banks are paying. So the banks are paying 0.1% or 0.01%. There's a big difference between getting 0.1% on your money versus getting 3% on your money in a conservative investment, or maybe 8 to 12% of your money in an investment that's in the markets. Although of course you're taking the risk in the markets, but you want to have your money working within your risk tolerance. You want to determine whether you're a conservative investor, a moderately conservative investor, a moderately aggressive investor, or an aggressive investor. Whatever strategy allows you to sleep at night, you want to implement that strategy. But even if you consider yourself a conservative investor, there's conservative investments that pay out considerably more interest than what the banks are paying out. So we love our banks because they give us that cash reserve, but we also want to make sure that we have our money making more than the 0.1% that most banks are paying out, or the 0.01%, or even just the 1% that you might be getting on a bank CD. You want to have some investments that are making at least 3-4%. And you may even have some investments, if you're more aggressive, that you're going for considerably higher rates of return than that. The more interest your investment is making, the faster your money grows. So the rule of 72 simply means that the statisticians have figured out that whatever interest you're getting on your investments, if you divide that number into the number 72, it gives a pretty close picture of how long it's going to take for that amount of money to double. So for example, if you're making 1% on an investment, well, it's going to take 72 years for your money to double. If you're making 10% on an investment, well, then it's only going to take 7 years for your money to double. So if you have $10,000, that means that $10,000 turns into $20,000. But if you're making 1%, it's going to take 72 years. However, if you're making 10%, that $10,000 would turn into $20,000 in only 7.2 years. And then from 20,000 to 40,000 in about 14 years. And then 40,000 into 80,000 in 21 years. And then 80,000 to 160,000 in 28 years. And then 160,000 and then $320,000 in 35 years. So now instead of having not even had your money double once in 35 years, you've now turned $10,000 into $360,000 in the same time frame. That's how powerful compounding interest works. And when you don't have your money in any type of investment, that rule of 72 isn't working for you. It's actually working against you, because if you have no savings and you have credit card debt, well, the credit cards are charging you 8% interest or 20% interest, sometimes as high as 26, 27% interest. Well, then the interest is working for the credit card company and not for you. And this goes the same for all debts. The bank gives you 0.1% on your savings account, but then even if it gives you a house, which is a great investment, houses are great investments, but you see they charge you 3.75% on a mortgage, or 11.9% on a used car, or again, 20% on a credit card. So you want to make sure that while you're going to have some debts, and it's good to have a mortgage for write-offs and it's low interest, and of course you have the property to appreciate, but you also want to make sure that you have some money someplace where you're not just paying interest, but you're also getting interest paid to you. So that's the importance of investing. And once you have that strategy where your money is growing for you, that's where you really want to make sure that you keep some of that money for yourself. So what happens is, if it's like a bathtub, your income is you constantly throwing buckets of water into that bathtub, and hopefully the bathtub is getting more and more full. Well, the taxes are the water that splashes back out of the bathtub. So you want as little of that money splashing back out of the bathtub as possible. So we're all going to pay some taxes, but you have investments that are taxable, and you have investments that are tax deferred, and you even have some investments where the interest can avoid taxation altogether if you follow all the rules and make sure you're aware of any restrictions, and if they're saved for particular goals. So we're going to talk a little bit about the tax shelters that you can use, so that once you have that money growing for you, you don't have this large chunk going out to Uncle Sam every year, but you hopefully have a smaller chunk because you're using tax strategy in addition to your investment strategy. And this is the power of saving into things like retirement plans, into saving into other tax sheltered investments for particular goals. So a quick story I like to share is, and this happens all the time, I have a client who I convinced to put $200 into their 401k plan at work. So that's every paycheck. So for the first time in his life, he was saving a little over $400 a month into his retirement plan at work. And he couldn't believe how fast it grew. And he asked me, he said, well, why is it growing so fast? Well, obviously part of the reason was because the investments that he chose did well, so that was part of it. But all of it also is because of his strategy of using a tax shelter, but not just a tax shelter that had a match to it. So if you happen to be fortunate enough to have a job with a matching 401k plan, please do not overlook that. That is one of your benefits, and it's very important that you use it, because that gentleman that put that $200 into his 401k plan per pay, every time he put $200 in, guess what? His company put another $200 in for him. And if he had taken that $200 into his paycheck like he was before he took that advice, what would have happened is he wouldn't have even seen the whole $200 because they would have taken out federal, state, and local taxes. But because he put that money into his 401k plan, they didn't take out those federal, state, and local taxes. And guess what? The $200 that his company put in for him, they didn't take out those federal, state, and local taxes either. So now that's $400 every paycheck, which if you're doing the math, that means about $800 a month, which is about $10,000 a year that he's putting away for himself. So he gets to put away, let's look at the $200. If he had gotten that money, instead of having $160 or so in his pocket today, because $40 or so would have went to taxes, instead of having $160 in his pocket today, he has $400 that he's saving for his future. And guess what? That $400 has a chance to compound interest. And again, this is twice a month. So that's actually $800 every month that's going to be compounding interest for him until he retires. So now, is he going to have to worry about his bills every month? Is he going to have to worry about living check to check? Is he going to have to worry about the things that a lot of us have to worry about? No, because he set up a systematic savings plan that is on autopilot, which is happening for him out of sight, out of mind. And here's the most amazing part. He realized it really didn't even have any real impact on his lifestyle. Because had he made that $166 in his paycheck, it would have went up in the smoke someplace and he wouldn't have even known where it went. Maybe to pay his cable bill or to buy some sneakers or to do whatever, go drink with his buddies, Atlantic City, all the stuff that we spend money on and we don't spend a second even thinking about how much money we throw into all these frivolous things. But when it comes to saving just a little bit of money for ourselves, that's when we decide, oh, we can't afford to do it. We have all these excuses. We say we don't have the information. If you don't have the information, well then speak with a professional to get that information, because anything is better than inaction. Because if you're making 0.1% on all your money, or if you don't have any savings in the first place, well then when you retire, all you're gonna have is Social Security, maybe a pension, but inflation is gonna be eating away at your lifestyle, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna start to discuss a few of the tax sheltered investments and how they work so that you can start using these investments to your benefit.
3, 2, 1.
So with the tax control triangle, the reason why I call it a triangle is because there's really 3 ways to save. You can save in a way that's taxable, you can save in a way that's tax deferred, and the word tax deferred is just a fancy term for tax later, meaning that you pay the taxes down the line. And then the last way you can save is you can save in a way that's tax-free. Now, tax-free isn't completely tax-free, and I'll explain what that means in just a moment. Let's start with the easy one, that's taxable. So if you have, for example, a savings account or a checking account, or maybe you have some type of investment that's not in any type of retirement plan or education plan, it's probably a taxable account. That means that it was paid with money that was already taxed as income when you made it. So for example, if you have $5,000 in a bank account, before it got to your bank account, you earned it as income. And when you earned it as income, they took the federal, state, and local taxes. So now that money is what they call after-tax dollars because it's already been taxed. If you put it into an investment that's not inside of a tax shelter, as that investment grows interest, you're going to receive a form from the government that's going to let you know that it's time for you to pay the interest on those on the taxes rather on that interest that you receive. So if you put in 5,000 and you make $700 worth of interest, well, now you have to report that $700 to the government so that you can pay taxes on it. Those are taxable investments. A tax-deferred investment would be an investment where you don't pay taxes now, but you have to pay taxes when you take that money out down the road. So an example of that would be your 401k plan, or if you're a teacher, it might be called a 403b plan. If you work for the city, a deferred compensation plan. If you work for the federal government, for a savings plan. So various companies have different plans. And then if you have a pension, usually those are tax deferred as well. When you have those accounts, they grow and they're put in before they get hit with those federal, state, and local taxes. And then down the road, hopefully you pay less on taxes taking that money out than you would be paying now. So for example, you might be in a 22% tax bracket today, but you may only be in the 12 or 15% tax bracket by the time you retire. So you put the money into a retirement account, like an IRA or like a 401k plan, well then, it usually gives most of you a tax advantage. Not to mention that even if you didn't get the tax advantage, if you do have a 401k plan, well then you get the match. For those of you who don't have a 401k plan that has a match, don't worry about it because that might also mean that you have a much better pension. So they may take it from you in one hand, but they give it to you in the other. That's a longer discussion, but that's kind of how that works. But those are tax deferred investments, investments where you don't pay now, but you pay in the future. The last option is you can look at something like a Roth IRA, a Roth 401k plan, or a 529 plan. They're called tax-free investments, but they're not completely tax-free because the money that you put in, now it's not allowed to be what they call pre-tax. Now it has to be paid with money that's already been taxed. So what they're really saying is that the interest that grows on those investments, that's what you avoid the taxation on as long as you follow certain rules. Have to know the rules. And I'm not an accountant, so you want to discuss those rules with your tax professional. But so for example, with the Roth IRA, it has to be kept in for at least 5 years, and you have to have attained age 59 and a half. And you have to meet both of those standards because let's say, for example, if you're 58 when you started, and then you want to take the money out at 61. Well, you're above 59 and a half, but it hasn't been 5 years yet. So you're still not going to get that tax benefit because of the fact that even though you waited until 59 and a half, you didn't wait the 5 years. So you want to make sure that you follow all the rules and know about all the rules, because if you go outside of some of those rules, not only will you probably face taxation, but you could even face a tax penalty of some sort. Usually it's a 10% tax penalty. In certain circumstances, like the required minimum distributions, the tax penalty can be even substantially higher than that. So you want to make sure that you discuss with your accountant or your tax professional the rules of whatever plan that you choose. However, these plans are going to usually significantly reduce the amount of money that you're going to have to pay in taxes. So if you remember my example earlier, when I discussed the rule of 72 and how that $10,000 could turn into over $300,000, if your investment is mostly interest, being able to take that interest out tax-free is a powerful option. However, if it's not going to grow as much interest, so for example, if you have more conservative investments or a much shorter time frame, you might actually do better in tax-deferred investments. And a lot of plans now, they offer a Roth 401k option. So instead of using before-tax dollars in a regular 401k plan, you can choose to use after-tax dollars in the Roth 401k plan. I'm not going to be able to dissect that, but so much because I just don't have the time. But needless to say, talk to a financial planner or your tax professional to find out what your options are, and then simply design the plan that's right for you. And your tax plan should be tailor-made for you. Another thing that I want to leave you with is that it's very important that you understand all of your benefits from work. And this isn't just about tax shelters, it's about which investments are offered. Does your job offer a stock bonus plan or a plan that gives you company options? How does your disability insurance work? If you have no disability insurance, you would want to know that because you might need disability insurance. Or if your disability insurance would only cover you 60% of your income, well then should you subsidize some of that 40% that's not being covered? How does your life insurance work? A lot of you have life insurance through your jobs, but when you retire, it's going to go away. So do you need to look at a life insurance policy? Do you have a legal benefit? And does your legal benefit go with you into retirement? Or should you make sure that you get your will done and your living will and your durable power of attorney? Should you get these things done while your legal benefit is active? So you need to make sure that you thoroughly understand your benefits, thoroughly understand tax shelters. And this is all what we call financial literacy. So when we go to school, they teach us literacy. They teach us how to read and write. But school teaches very little personal finance and financial literacy. So it's up to us as a community to share with each other and get this information on our own, or else we're going to fall further and further behind, because most of the things that the wealthy can do, we can do as well. It's not that we lack the resources, we lack the information, which is why I'm so thankful that Christian Men Incorporated had me come in and share this information with you and the Get Your House in Order conference, because Rudy Ellis and the people that work with him are going above and beyond to make sure that you have those resources and you know who these people are who can give you this information to make sure that, quite frankly, we stop playing the game backwards. We're in the habit of putting so much money into assets that depreciate in value, and this is what we prioritize. And the more we learn to prioritize assets that appreciate in value, and then to learn the tax strategies to allow us to keep more of those assets, the more we're going to be able to not only grow wealth and share and leave legacy financially, but there's also a family legacy that's led, because when you understand it, you're going to pass it down to your children, and they're going to understand it even more than you, and then they're going to pass it down to your grandchildren, and your grandchildren are going to understand it even more than them. And this is how we have social mobility in the classes and achieve our destiny as strong, positive leaders in our community. So what I really want to close with is, thank you to Christian Men Incorporated for inviting me to share this information for the Get Your House in Order Financial and Business Conference. And my challenge to everybody listening to this broadcast is to take up the mantle of leadership in our community, to take action, step up and take action. Decide today, decide this week. I'm going to go talk to a financial planner or an accountant. I'm going to start doing my research on the internet. I'm going to find out what tax shelters make sense for me. I didn't talk much about education planning, but there's another tax shelter called the 529 plan. You can look at how that works if you have children that need to be put through school. So there's all types of options that we have that not only helps us make money, but helps us to keep money in our pocket. But if we don't take action, you can listen to 1,000 of these broadcasts, but it's not until you take pen to paper and take action that it's going to actually make a difference in your lives. And then you're going to be able to take this information and make a difference in other people's lives as well. Again, my name is Vaughn J. Coleman. I'm a certified financial planner. I've been in the industry since 1997. Feel free to use me as a resource. I offer a free consultation, or if you just want to call and have some questions, you'll never be bothering me. I love to answer questions. It won't cost you anything to meet with me. It won't cost you anything to talk with me. So if you don't have anybody else you can talk to about these sorts of issues, now you have somebody that you know that lives in the community. I'm also licensed in New Jersey and Delaware, who can share this type of information and bring my 24 years of experience to you so that you have this information to use for yourself and your families as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. One last time to Christian Men Incorporated for having me on this program, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Tillman. Let me just tell you a little bit about myself.
Hold up, Mike. Mike, look at your screen. Do you have a big black square on your screen?
It says, I got two. I got this meeting is being recorded by a host or participant.
All right, so click that.
I got it.
Yeah, okay.
And then it says set up professional audio.
So just exit out of that, I think. What's the option for that? Because I can't see that. What's the option for that?
I just X'd it out.
Okay, good. So let's start over. We're gonna have to start over again.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Three, two, one.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Reginald Tillman. I'm a tax accountant and currently studying to be an enrolled agent for the IRS, which will enable me to represent clients in their defense to resolve any tax problem that they may have, that they may or may occur, as long as it's not in a criminal nature. I want to thank Christian Men Inc. for allowing me to come and talk to you about the Get Your House in Order conference. I am about the business house. So let's get started while we are. I have everybody's attention. This is Get Your House in Order conference, and it's tax planning for business. And the first things first, you know, people ask me all the time, how do I start to be in business? Well, the first thing you must do is think of a name for your business and then check and see with the state or local authorities to see whether that name has already been used by another business. Now, if it has been, then you have to use another name. But the second thing that you must do is decide what type of business entity that you will become. Example, a sole proprietorship, a LLC, Corp, or a S Corp, or maybe a partnership if you want to go into business with someone else. Have a discussion with your lawyer and your accountant as to what form of entity will be best suited for your business. Now, so we have to plan before we go into business, rather than go into business haphazardly by the seat of your pants, because those who fail to plan to fail. Now, although you have a desire to start a business, you must begin to plan for your business as to how much funds you will need to adequately open up. In other words, you will want to construct a budget. A business plan is very important since you will calculate inventory or how much you will charge for your services. If you will be able to if your business will be a service type business, or another is a location where your business will be located at. And the next thing is registration. The next thing that you must do is to register your business with the state and local authorities, as well as the federal authorities. Once you are registered, the government recognizes you as a legal business. Then you're able to apply for the proper permits and licenses that will allow you to lawfully operate as a business. And you will also register with the federal government for an employer identification number. It's employer identification number is like an social security number for your business. Now it's time to get down to business. The next thing that you must do is to visit your local bank to open up a checking account in the name of your business. I personally will suggest that you use a national bank when you open up your checking account, because a national bank has many branches and it has ATM machines, so that you will freely access to make deposits and withdrawals on a 24-hour basis. Credit associations are good as a second source of having a savings account, since they are usually more flexible in obtaining loans and lines of credit. Now, you want to decide when you want to open your business after you've gotten all of the business registrations in order. You've gotten all your tax obligations set. So now you're ready for a grand opening. Once you have satisfied these obligations listed above, then you will be open for business. Those employees you hire, make sure they complete Form I-9 and W-4. Check for a valid driver's license and Social Security cards. There's no paying employees under the table. So you want to do everything on board, on top, so that if there's a problem with an employee, that you will be in compliance with what the law of your state or the federal government implies that you should be in a situation for your business. The next thing to do is hire a good bookkeeper or accountant to help you keep track of your income and expenses. All businesses' income goes directly into a bank checking account. All business expenses are paid with check or bank card. That way, they're recorded in the checking account, every cent that you bring into your business and every cent that you spend, whether it's for taxes, whether it's for business supplies, or whether it's to pay employees. Here's hoping that your business begins to flourish and prosper. Now, I hope this presentation will help you to make positive decisions concerning your aspirations of becoming an entrepreneur. Thank you for your time. And I also want to thank, again, I want to thank Christian Men, Inc. again for inviting me to do this presentation. And I also want to challenge the brothers of this organization and those watching this presentation to get your business house in order as leaders of families and communities and places of worship. Thank you.
Three, two, one.
I've had clients for, I've been in business for 35 years, and I've had clients who really became successful. With one client I had, he had a tow truck business, and he was able to, I was his accountant, and I got him situated where he provided these tow truck services, and he also was able to generate enough money to open up several houses, to purchase several houses, and to become a landlord. And we were able to calculate what his earnings was. We filed on time. I recommended that not to wait till the end of the year to file taxes, but file taxes on a quarterly basis. which he did not want to do. He wanted to file taxes at the end of the year. And what happened is that by the time I finished his taxes at the end of the year, it was revealed through his taxes that he owed quite a bit of money to the Internal Revenue, which she did not was in a position to pay. And what happened? It went about to trigger an audit. He was not able to pay the taxes, and he was hit with many fines and penalties for not being able to pay the taxes. So eventually, he was able to pay the taxes, but it resulted in many penalties and interest that was unnecessary. It also created a domino effect because the IRS changed his taxes, which caused him to be be audited by the state, and also audited by the city of Philadelphia, because they changed his tax liability. The state and the local government also changed their tax liabilities. So he was hit with multiple taxes and multiple taxes and penalties, and that I don't think that he was able to get out of it. And this was just several years ago. I had another client who was involved in a body and fender shop, and they were getting insurance claims, and although the insurance the insurance proceeds clearly stated how much was sales tax, they failed to set up a separate checking account, which I continually advised them to do, and they commingled their tax money with their operating account, and they came to find out that they were audited as well by the state, and they were owing several $1,000s in interest and penalties, and it got into a criminal nature, because sales tax is money that never belongs to you. That money is supposed to be turned over to the state every quarter. So these are some of the things that people get themselves involved in, and then they were which can become a criminal matter if you're not able to pay the taxes, which is sales tax, and then with the federal government, it's payroll taxes, Social Security, Medicare, and withholding tax. So as entrepreneurs, we have to be very careful in how we separate our money, that we don't commingle our money with our tax money or with our operating account. And that way, as long as you're able to pay your taxes on time, the government will allow you to continue to flourish in your business. But you must have a good accountant. You must have a good lawyer to keep you out of these situations, because you as an entrepreneur, you basically just concentrate on your business, and you have to find an accountant that you can trust, and also a lawyer that you can trust to keep you out of hot water with the federal, state, and local governments. Thank you.
3, 2, 1.
To give a little light to these situations. I have a client.
I want to thank Vaughn and Mike for sharing. Vaughn, 1% money a double in 72 years. I mean, yeah, that rule of 72, I think you really presented it in a way that I don't care who you are, you can really understand if you want to double your money, either folding it over is one way, but if you're investing it, you need to get a greater interest rate than 0.01 or even 1%. So Vaughn, I want to thank you for that. That was awesome. And Mike, yeah, I think you drove home the point of no commingling of money. That's a sales tax and federal withholding tax and FICA tax. Create a separate account and make sure that Uncle Sam doesn't come and recharacterize who you are as a business, and to enable you to do business. So great. Don't need to deal with stuff unnecessarily, so before we get to our final speaker, after every speaker there's been a promotional video, the Get Your House in Order promotional video. And so for each of you that have been watching this, we appreciate your participation and staying with us over these past 3 days. But I have a question about the brother and his wife or his significant other. They did a high five in the end. I don't know if you picked up on that, but they did a high five. They were burning something, and I think they were burning a bill that they got, a collection bill, and they agreed that no more debt. They're going to get out of debt and improve their credit situation. So, and that's a good thing to help as we get our house in order, to really look at that whole credit situation, so that we can do what? Invest more. So, Dick, did you want to share anything on before we move to our final speaker of the day?
No, I'll save my comments to the end.
Great. Okay. What I did want to do was complete the Get Your House in Order checklist. Now, I think we ended up on having you write your own obituary. I think that's really cool. And I hope, just start today. You got another, who knows how long you have, but at least begin starting with something. The next point is contacting your insurance agent, financial advisors, real estate advisors, and all of those folks that are advisors to you with your financial affairs. Contact them and let them know that you're getting your house in order, and that you will be speaking with your family and letting them know also that you're getting their house in order. So the question is, have you outlined who those parties are, who those advisors are? Yes, no, or maybe. If you're a veteran, have you went through and notified the veterans and ascertained the benefits that you have available? My nephew works with the veterans, and he just says, veterans just don't tap into the benefits that they have available at no cost to them. So that's a question. In getting your house in order, do you understand and know of all the benefits? The location of your legal documents, I may have mentioned that before, but your will, your power of attorney, advance directives, where are they? Are they in a shoebox under your bed, or are they in the bank's in a safe deposit box, which is where the original should be, and you can have a copy of that under your bed. Listing and location of all your assets. Do you have a listing and location of all your assets? Yes, no, maybe, not sure. And then this is another one, kind of goes to writing your obituary, but begin to document or write down your life achievements and accomplishments. I want to congratulate everyone that has listened to day 1, 2, and or day 3 of the Get Your House in Order conference. That in itself is an accomplishment and worthy of saying, hey, this is the day I began to get my house in order. I think that's a major accomplishment. And legacy gifts. Begin to think about legacy gifts. That's to your family, to your church or other workplace of worship or organization that has helped you. Do you have any type of legacy gifts that you want to leave? Yes, no, maybe. So those are that's the checklist of some of the questions. Now we do have a Get Your House in Order. We already showed you the binder, the Get Your House in Order binder, but what's going in the binder? So these are some of the things that's going to go into the binder. And we also are putting together with the team of professionals who are speaking in their respective areas. We're putting together as I mentioned earlier, Get Your House in Order, not just the checklist, but the particular questions, the detailed questions that you can, answer. And that will help fill in the gaps for information about you and how you are getting your house in order, getting your affairs in order. So we want to pivot and go to our final speaker today, and that'll be our final speaker. Then we're going to come in afterwards and we'll do some next steps, some wrap up, where we're going to go from here and how you can participate and support the effort that this organization is. And I'm glad to be assisting in helping Christian Men Inc. put forth this type of financial information in particular to the men and boys. Definitely much needed, as we know, in our community. So let's back out the audio and then the video.
Good morning. I'm Larry Daniels. I am a financial advisor with Edward Jones Investments. I have an office here in Mount Airy. I'm just realizing I don't have any more water. But it is an honor and a privilege to be here again with you this year. We certainly want to thank Christian Men Inc. and regarding the Get Your House in Order conference for another opportunity to come in front of the men and share. We first want to take some time to thank that group for making that available. Okay, they bring some very valuable information, of which I contribute a small part. We thank you for being here. And we certainly hope that you take whatever you can out of it, and it makes you smarter, makes you more effective, put some better habits in your process, establish some goals, okay? That's the key. We have to make sure we have some goals, okay? And in the case of many of us, it's retirement. And what I find is a lot of us own investments, but the investments aren't attached to a goal. And it's important that we budget, that we have goals. Specifically, we need a retirement goal. How much do we want to live off monthly? When do we want to retire? Is that the right time to retire? What I find is a lot of folks are motivated to retire regardless of whether the numbers add up or not. In other words, will my income outlast my expenses? Not just today, but tomorrow also. Keep in mind that the expenses continue to grow at a rate of inflation. Now, normally that number is 3, maybe 4%, but in this current environment, we're dealing with inflation rates close to 7 and 8%, which means it's going to accelerate the cost of living, not just for the day, but later on. So for those of you contemplating retirement, make sure you do the right, you do an analysis of what you have in terms of income, what savings, what investments you have, and then what is my budget? What is my budget in today's dollars, and what does it grow to later on? That's so important. And then many of you may already be retired, and so the key is to make sure we don't run out of money. Okay, we don't want to run out of money. And more importantly, we don't want to run out of money at a time, let's say in our 80s or early to mid 80s, at a time maybe when we can't get additional work or part-time job. So we want to figure out if there's going to be a gap. We want to figure it out today on the front end, and then be able to plan for that later on. Fundamentally, as a financial advisor who has his own practice here at Edward Jones, that's mostly what I do for my clients. I manage their assets, and my goal is to make sure those assets last throughout retirement. I pay them an income on those assets to supplement their Social Security or their pension that they may have, and ultimately that's what they have for the month. So routinely, we have checks and direct deposits going out to our clients on a monthly basis. Excuse me. I get a little nervous when I know I got a crowd in front of me and it bubbles up into me a little bit here. So that's the broader picture, okay? We want to make sure we're planning, we want to have goals, and we want to check it, okay? We want to check it, we want to have interim checkpoints on the goal and how it's progressing to achieve our goals. So with that, what I wanted to do was kind of deal with what's happening today, okay? And as that is a backdrop, what's happening today with my money? For those of you who own stocks, the stock market is sideways, inflation is sideways, interest rates are moving in a different direction. So I just wanted to touch on some of these items to kind of bring you more, instead of bringing a bunch of slides and taking you through as I've done in the past. I wanted to keep it real, the same kind of conversation I will be having with my clients. So imagine you being a client today, you're not paying anything, and let my clients pay me. So you're getting it free, so I'd encourage you to take it. So the first thing I would talk to you about is inflation. Inflation is out of control. The government underestimated the impact of inflation. Oil, for the most part, is contributing, kind of kicked off that momentum to increase inflation rates. And then other goods, picked up on that. So we've seen gasoline go up as a direct connection to oil. But we also seen prices go up in the grocery store. I was in the grocery store, and it was very clear to me. I was getting some orange juice. Excuse me. Orange juice is usually, when they put it on sale, you can get like 2 for $5. Then it kind of went up 2 for $6. There wasn't no sales on orange juice. Orange juice was starting off with like $4.99 and $3.99. And so that was for me, that was a clear indicator of how much prices have went up. But you hear it all the time. So prices of everything have gone up. So inflation right now is the number one enemy. The Fed has started increasing interest rates, which is the Fed's number one weapon against reducing inflation. So typically when inflation goes up, when we're in an environment where interest rates were at zero, the Fed will increase interest rates to reduce demand, right? Because everything starts costing more to kind of slow down the economy, kind of cool it off. And that's supposed to have a cooling effect on inflation. So right now, inflation is high. We are still projecting that inflation should cool off towards the second half of the year, okay? Part of that problem is the bottleneck we've had in supply chain. That bottleneck is starting to ease. So we might see a more normal flow of goods and services. And then we're starting to see gasoline prices come down as a result of oil prices going down. So right now we're projecting that we should see an easing of inflation sometime in the second half of the year, okay? Interest rates are going up. I think the Fed said they want to get them up to around 3%. The Fed meets quarterly, they're meeting monthly. And at each meeting, they decide how much rates are going up. Right now, they've been going up a quarter point, half a point. I think their target interest rate is 3%. But what we're seeing though is now mortgage rates are going up. Okay, so where we had a hot real estate market, it's starting to damper a bit because mortgages are higher. We're starting to see credit card interest rates go up. They can't wait to do that to us, right? And then the other thing is when interest rates go up, bond values go down. It's kind of an inverse relationship. So we're seeing bond values go up, but then what happens is, yields go up. Okay, so when I don't want to get complicated with bonds, but fundamentally, when interest rates go up, bond values goes down. Basically, new bonds are paying, interest rates going up, they're paying higher rates, pushes down the value of existing bonds. Okay, that's where the downward pressure comes from. And then the reverse is true. When interest rates go down, bond values go up. So the bonds that you have are at a lower rate. So it's kind of an inverse relationship. I don't want to get complicated with that. But the fact of the matter is we're seeing bond values go down and yields climbing, okay? So not only is the cost of the goods, consumer goods, automobiles, used automobiles, discretionary items in places like, Home Depot and Lowe's, and then in the supermarkets, not only are they going up, but the cost of everything going up. The financing cost is going up. So be careful with that. So ultimately, that affects our stock prices. So for those of you who own stocks, whether they're individual stocks, whether they're through mutual funds or ETFs, stocks are sideways. We've seen stock values retreat significantly lately. The thing I would point out though, is I try to remind my clients, remember, we measure stock performance in years, not months. So I'm reminded about 2020, when COVID hit hard and the Dow dropped 30%. And from the bottom of that drop, we saw it go up 60% the rest of the year. So for those of you who hold stocks, don't panic, okay? Stocks go down. That's a healthy stock market, okay? Like I always teach, the value is in the shares, not the price of not the statement value, okay? So as long as you hold on to your shares, you hold on to your value, you give those stock shares a chance to rebound. And you never want to sell stocks when the value is down. You don't want to do that. The analogy I gave was like taking someone who was in the hospital, really not doing well and asking them to do laps. It's not what you do with your money. So you got to be patient. We'll get through this. We're in an environment. Inflation is up, interest rates are up. The good news is that the jobs, the economy is still kicking off. Solid amount of jobs. Unemployment rates are still low, right? And corporate profits are still pretty solid. A lot of companies are still reporting some positive earnings. Those are all key inputs in terms of how stocks react. So the important things to remember about stocks is make sure your stocks are allocated amongst different asset classes: large cap, mid cap, small cap, international, okay? And then the amount of bonds you want to have in your portfolio. Bonds provide the stability to your portfolio because bonds historically move opposite stocks. So when stocks go down, bonds go up, okay? Because people, moving away from stocks, they're buying bonds. Bonds are more stable. And also bonds provide a steady rate of interest into the portfolio. So we got to get that right. And that's about understanding your risk tolerance. That's something I can help you with, okay? This is what I do, okay? Finding the right asset allocation portfolio for my clients, because you don't want to be buying and selling. You don't want to do that, because so if I sell, okay, now when do I get back in? See, we don't know when that is. So what we do is we find the right combination of those asset classes that reflect my risk tolerance. So at its lowest point, I'm sleeping at night, okay? And that's the key. When you start losing sleep at night, that's time to really take a hard look at that. Okay, and then you want to buy quality investments. So once we have the right portfolio, you want to buy quality. It's not a time to be chasing returns. Quality companies are generally companies whose names you've heard of before. Been around a long time, been paying a dividend for a long time. In fact, been increasing the dividend. They dominate the business that they're in. They're either one or number two. And so those are the kind of companies you want to own, because what we know about a volatile stock market is those kind of companies go down less, okay, then they come back sooner, okay? And then retirement, okay? So let's make sure, let's get the budget, okay? Get the budget right. Now is the time to know what you're spending, how much you're spending, okay? Get control of your expenses, okay? And then retirement. So if you're planning for retirement, it's a good time to buy investments, okay? Because we're buying them at the lower end, right? So if you're systematically saving into a retirement plan at work, 401k, 403b, TSA, whatever, or an IRA, it's a good time to be buying and putting money into those investments, okay? Because the market doesn't stay down. The market will come back, right? And then the final question is, are we headed towards a recession? The answer is probably yes, okay? And it's not likely to happen this year, what we're forecasting, but maybe next year, 2023, early 2024. This is what we do, so GDP, which is the gross product of everything we make, it goes up for a period of time. We have great performance in our investments, and then it's going to go down, okay? And then they come back. But now is the time to really take control of your expenses, knowing what you need, batten down the hatches on your investments, tighten everything up, okay? Don't get rid of anything, just tighten it up and know what it is, so that when we come out of this, we can bloom with it, okay? So look, I think that I've taken up a lot of my time. I have a lot more I can tell you about this stuff because it's so important. It's about building wealth and protecting wealth, whatever level you're on, okay? And so you ask me, what is wealth? Wealth is what you have and what you're trying to protect, okay? And that's important to me. That's important to make sure that we can do all we can with our folks, you know what I mean, who have been deprived of wealth historically, that we can do the most and do the best we can with what we have, okay? So my challenge to you is, you know, be disciplined. Don't react, be disciplined. Stare the market down and stay with it. Own no, but you gotta own the right type of investments, okay? Don't be chasing crypto thinking that's gonna take care of your retirement. It's not. It's not what we consider quality, okay? So diversify, own quality investments, be patient, and challenge you, okay, to just stay the course. Have some goals in place. If you need help with your goals, call me, okay? I'll give you information at the end. But now more than ever, we need to be focused. We don't need to be erratic, okay? Let's take care of our families. Let's take care of our communities. Let's give God praise, okay? Let's make sure we're sowing into the kingdom. All of these things make a difference from my perspective. That's not a professional thing now. I'm getting a little personal with you. That's what I do. And God has blessed me in a mighty way. So get right with God. I think I'm talking to the right audience, okay? But then we also have to take care of our business and God will bless what we do and multiply what we have, amen? So look, I'm Larry Daniels with Everett Jones Investments. You can reach me at my number at 215-242-2402. And we're at 7151 Germantown Avenue in Mount Airy. Be happy to give you any personal feedback on what you have and what you're doing strategically without charging you a nickel. And we're here to help. We're here to build. We're here to get what's rightly ours, okay, that we've been deprived of, okay? And that's an important mission for me. So once again, we want to thank Christian Men Inc. And, you know, good luck as you continue the journey through the Get Your House in Order conference. Hopefully you can take something from what I said that will help you out. And we look forward to meeting with you and speaking with you again in the future, okay? And let's be the best we can be. Don't look, you know, as men, as Black men, we have to be strong. We have to be independent. We have to be role models for our young people. Let's do the best we can be and be the best we can be. Amen? Thank you so much.
Good evening, brothers. Now that our Get Your House in Order workshop has been concluded, I pray that everyone has enjoyed the presentation and taken away some things that we'll be able to put some hands and feet and some definitive applications to. But also I wanted to just take this time, as some of you might know, my name is Leroy Hegler. I'm the president of the Eastern Region Layman Ministry of the state of Pennsylvania. And I just wanted to take this time to remind you that coming up, even though the Get Your House in Order workshop was great, and it was a virtual presentation that we all enjoyed, we're about to move forward into an in-person fellowship where we as men can come together and gain some invaluable insight. And that's the Man Up Conference. That's coming the end of August, specifically August 25th through the 27th, down in the Sandy Cove, Maryland area. So I need you to go to the website, christianmeninc.org/events. I need you to click on, go through the registration form. It's a very simplistic form, just some basic information that you need to input, and then move forward and get your reservation set, because we're looking for a dynamic time in the month of August where we can come together, person to person, fellowship, and get some knowledge and understanding on what we need to do to go back into impacting our communities using the Word of God and different knowledge that's out there. I'm looking forward to seeing you all. And don't forget, tell someone. Also, input your roommate information on the registration form. There's an area for that as well. For those of you who might want to share a room, we will be able to accommodate that request as well. So again, take this time to go to the website, do your registration form, take care of what you need to take care of, and we'll see you in August. God bless.
Well, we want to thank Brother, Brother Daniels for that for that presentation, and definitely the charge to the brothers in getting our house in order. I don't think he's a huge fan of crypto. He said no crypto, he said quality quality investment. So I definitely echo that. So we appreciate him. But what we want to do now is again, just thanking all of our presenters over the past 3 days and our panelists. They've provided us with $1 billion, $1 trillion worth of information. And that's a fact. And as we implement that information on an individual basis, how that can be compounded, not 1%, but 100%, so it's just a matter of implementation, and that's what we're about. Just want to echo all of their encouragement to men to get your house in order. We will be as part of the program doing a deeper dive into Get Your House in Order financial literacy education and business entrepreneurship and training program that complements CMI and its program available to men and boys. So that's one of the things that will be commencing in September. So and that's a member benefit to participate and if you are interested in being a facilitator, we have a training program that we can help train you in particular these areas to be a facilitator. That's part of our small group program of training youth, adults, and seniors. So the Glover may speak more to that as part of the overall program. And let's see what else. That was to that end in the challenge. I just want to wrap up without going through the checklist, but back to the 3 questions of getting your house in order. 1, do you have it listed? Do you have the areas for your final expenses documented? Your legacy wishes documented? That's question number 1. Answer yes, no, maybe. Question number 2, do you have a will, power of attorney, healthcare directive, those documents in place? And more importantly, an individual or individuals who will be handling the implementation of that when you are not able to, as Bob Warrington shared during the estate planning, the repercussions that can happen. Do you have that in order? Yes, no, or maybe. And the final question is, which is the most important question, is having the resources available to have those your legacy wishes implemented. That as most of our presenters have shared the importance of legacy and leaving financial resources for our children and our children's children. So those are the 3 questions that you need to ask yourself on a daily basis. Where are you at? Yes, no, maybe. So those are the 3 points with Get Your House in Order. And just one final point, as far as the membership piece, CMI members are eligible to receive to help jumpstart that. Do you have the resources, a membership benefit of $1,000 as a part of the CMI member benefit, a $1,000 certificate of insurance for each member. And so, and that's just one of the benefits that is made available for all CMI members. So this isn't going to cover everything, but it can help be a seed, a jump start for those of you that are members and want to make sure that you have guaranteed financial resources on hand to ensure that your wishes are carried out. So I think I have covered most of the things that I wanted to cover. Dean Glover, wrap up.
Again, thank you, Rudy. Again, I always give kudos to Rudy because this is his baby. He gives leadership to the Get Your House in Order conference each year. This is our third year. And his passion is finance. He loves to talk about it. He loves to be involved with it, but he also likes to see other folk use his expertise, his experiences in order to enhance their own financial position. So I, again, tip my hat to Rudy. And he works with me in all areas of CMI as we begin to move forward, especially, again, coming out of this pandemic the last 2 years. But I want to, again, sort of focus on where we're going from here. We do have the sort of the framework now for an annual sessions as annual engagement with CMI. We start talking about now the Get Your House in Order conference in April. But one of the things that happened this year is that we sort of became in partnership, taking partnership with the layman, the Eastern Region layman. But this relationship sort of like entails a bigger commitment from the laymen and from CMI. We was fortunate to be engaged with new leadership that was installed in February of this year for the Pennsylvania Baptist State Convention at first. And the laymen were concerned from the state perspective and the regional perspective. And so we just also concluded yesterday our mid-year session with the laymen and CMI. But it also gets us to what Rudy was talking about previously, is that now the next thing we've got to do is train our facilitators for our next program, which is our Sowing to Success. Our Sowing to Success speaks about 6 topics, 6 areas that we want to engage: family, finance, your faith, personal development, career development, civic duties, and health. And we believe that if we are engaged in those 7 areas, it will give an individual, especially since we are focusing on men, it gives us an opportunity to have a balance to our lives. And when we have a balance to our lives, it helps us be a better father, better husband, a better son to our families and our relatives. And so we are really focusing on embracing the Sowing to Success program next. And it requires us to be able to have facilitators so that we can also break down into small groups that we'll be able to have dialogue, but also be able to identify live events that we'll be able to have training and engagements on site, also virtually. And so when we look at what we're doing and how we're doing it, we have a particular program that we'll be utilizing right now, media, that is a faith-based program that we'll be utilizing. But all of these things will be coming forth in the coming weeks. So it's not a situation where we're having an event and we don't do or don't engage until the next event. We got some challenges. We have some challenges, and we know and recognize this just living day to day and engaging with each other, that there are some challenges. Your challenge may not be my challenge, but I got a challenge. I may not be sharing it with you, but I got a challenge. So we're looking at men and boys from 7 years old to 80 years old. But for what we want to do going forward, we want to particularly have a focus on the 18-year-olds to the 35 years old, that young adult model population. Because we still got a lot of violence that we're engaging in. We believe that there's some tie-in to trying to engage across the spectrum. But if we can focus in on that 18 to 35-year-old, they become the linchpin or the connector so that we can be able to bring about the challenges and the changes and the resources. As we have shared, there are a lot of resources out there because for real in the ministry of all of this, ministry costs money. Ministry is expensive and you need dollars in order to support adequately your vision that you have for your ministry. So that's what CMI wants to be about. It wants to engage, but it also wants to be able to be sustainable so that we don't necessarily have to depend on a grant or some other handout or some other support mechanism that might or might not agree with the process and the procedure that we want to initiate and we want to begin to engage in. We thank you for what you have done thus far with our support for CMI in the past years. And we thank you again for what you're going to do for the future because we believe that we have you as a partner. Thank you again. Have a great day. Rudy, I'll see you on the other side.
Amen to that. Amen to that.